coming to you live from Austin. DevOps Days, Day 2, Part 2. I'm here with Michael Cote of the 451 Research Group. Cote, how are you doing?
I'm great.
So you just got off stage. You were the keynote for Day 2. And you were talking about unicorns and when DevOps will basically get mainstream. Right.
That's right.
So what was some of the thoughts that you were talking about?
Well, to do a little reverse pyramid. Like we did a study, and it turns out that there's lots of interest in DevOps and desire to do it, but as tracked by tool usage, the maturity is quite down, right? So there's not a lot of usage of what you would think of the utopic DevOps tool chain, the Chefs, Puppets, Ansibles, and Salt Stacks, and continuous integration tools, and all these things are not used as much as you might expect in a, a pool of people who are sort of filtered to be early DevOps people.
So when you're looking, you're saying that we consider a presence of DevOps or an inkling of DevOps by the tools, right? That's your
yeah.
Using?
We filtered 500 people down to 200 people, and it's very difficult to do this, but we to do it perfectly. But what we did is we asked people who were working on cloud applications, who consider themselves DevOps performing people. Like, we had a bunch of questions that basically tried to ferret out people who were likely doing something DevOps or DevOps oriented. And again, it's kind of imprecise, and we'll do the study over and over again to get it better. But I think it was representative of what I would call the early mainstream DevOps market and what's going on there.
So what was the size and the industries of the folks you talked to this time?
So it was pretty, I don't ever remember numbers, so I can't tell you that, although I just said 500 and 200, so I'm a little crazy. But when I looked at the demographics, it was actually spread pretty evenly across industries or verticals. We, on purpose, didn't have anyone in the technology industry, because that's exactly what we didn't want to study, right? People in the tech industry are a unicorn already, and so that's kind of not the point of the study. But we had people across manufacturing, finance, pharma, retail, healthcare, so forth and so on. And that was, it wasn't super even, but it wasn't exactly the same, but it was evenly spread. And then as far as company sizes, I think it was representative of what you would want in the study. Again, it wasn't even, but we had the most of them were in the mid-market area, so mid-sized companies. There was a good amount in small companies, and then there was also an equally good amount in large companies, like giant multinational companies, which I think is pretty representative of what we want to look at.
So if there's not a lot going on right now, what would you do based on what you looked at in crystal ball gazing over the next 3 years? Where do you see this going?
Sure. So, I would qualify that not a lot going on. Like, I didn't show all of the charts that we had, but there is a lot of desire, I would say. I'm a bit over-interpreting, but to interpolate, if that's a word, I think it's pretty clear that people want DevOps, and they want the things we're asking about that they're not doing. And so what I would do, there's sort of three people you might be. You might be a IT person at one of these companies, you might be a vendor, or you might be someone in the investor community. These are kind of three constituencies that I would serve. And if you're an IT person yourself, I think it's important to learn about what DevOps is, start training, do some small projects and POCs, just get your hands dirty, and just start educating yourself about not only what the tools are, but learning, as Andrew Schaefer gave a good talk yesterday, which one of the points was learn how to speak business, right? You work in if you're here at least, and lots of the Western world, you work in a capitalist world that's driven by business concerns. And so if you can learn how to speak to those people, they have a lot of oil to lubricate your desires, so to speak. And so you need to learn how to deal with them and tell them how this technology is going to help them out and also help you out. So learn the tools, train yourself up, and it's also early enough that you can kind of, I wouldn't say be lazy about it, but you can sort of take your time and be somewhat leisurely, right? Which is great. So then if you're a vendor, there's two things. If you're an incumbent vendor, so it actually turns out that there's lots of incumbent vendor tools in use from the big four of management and other people. And we consult with these guys all the time on this topic, but what they need to do is figure out how to modernize the tools that they have, the marketing that they have, and the go-to-marketing that they have to deliver on DevOps stuff so that they can retain the customers that they have. Because they have the customers now, essentially. They just need their tools and their overall go-to-market motion need to comply with what people want. And then if you're in the investor world, what you want to do is find some high-growth companies to stick your money in to make it grow. And that's a matter of going to conferences like this, talking to people like myself, and all sorts of things to find out what are the early companies that don't look batshit crazy or insane, to be more less MA, if you will. And you want to place your bets and money in that these will be the new up-and-coming tools companies that will end up being left standing in the next 5 years or so.
Cool. So just to conclude with, and you started talking about this, if you were a CIO at a more mainstream company, or sorry, if you were advising them, what would you tell them their strategy should be vis-a-vis DevOps? Right.
So the first thing I would do is figure out what your business wants to do over the next 2 or 3 years. Most business, even if they don't write it down, has a strategic plan. Like there's some goals they want to meet. So figure out what that is, and we'll just make up something. Our goal is we want to open 5 more branches up. I don't even know what they do, but we want to open 5 more branches up, which is going to drive $10 million more in revenue. And we also want to run things more efficiently, and so that we get better margin. And we also want to, do some other stuff. So then, what is it that you can do as a CIO to help open those branches and also run things more efficiently? So one thing you might do is, the way that you roll out and pop up these branch stores, like you want to make sure that you're probably using cloud-like or very easy to use infrastructure to start things up. And you might want to more automate the back end and have more turns on how you're processing all that data. And you might look at some customer-facing things to think like, so if we had the power to deploy applications every month or something, could we increase sales and get people to just like buy more stuff from us? I mean, those are like super cheesy examples. But the point is, like, once you figure out what the business's goals are, your job as the nerd, the head nerd of the company, the CIO or the IT director or whatever, is to say, how can we use computers and software and IT to basically help meet those business demands? Not just cut costs and increase efficiencies, but actually help address growth. And all of the DevOps stuff, like in cloud technologies, can help deliver on those things. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You just have to be aware of them and know how to think strategically about how to apply them.
Awesome. Michael Cote, thanks so much.
Sure.